So, I am here with renowned entertainment executive and author, Mr. Mark Green. Mr. Green is the well regarded agent for megastars like Usher, Prince, Diana Ross, Teena Marie, Chaka Khan, and the Backstreet Boys. Now, Mr. Green,
Yes.
like you have, and this is just a few of your 50-year tenure. If I must say, that's a long time to be in the music industry.
50 years, 60, no, 40.
40.
I got
That's
this.
how I was like,
How old I am. I'm 20, I'm 65. So, okay, yeah, 40.
yeah, it's a long time. Now, you've lived quite the successful life in this 40-year entertainment industry. What is one of your first Mama, I Made It moments?
You know, I look back, um, and I guess the first thing was when I became a rapper. And that was the highlight at the time. Now this we're going back way back, 1977, when I first discovered rapping and the whole uh, genre of what was going on in the Bronx. I brought it to New Jersey, became ghetto famous here. I had a high school friend of mine who used to follow me around. His name was Guy O'Brien, and eventually he caught on to what I was doing and he wanted to know more about it. And the next thing I knew, he became Master G of the Sugar Hill Gang.
That's amazing. I remember when they used to have I don't know if that was a candy cane around the record,
Yes, yes.
something unique. Now, like you said, you met Mr. What's his name?
Master G?
Master G, Sugar
Yes.
Hill Gang.
Yes.
Now, entering into the music industry at that opportune time when hip hop had identity because it had just started.
Just started. We were, to talk about, and I tell people, I said it was nothing like it is now. I mean, we were
Right.
doing it for fun. It was like playing the dozens, like, oh, I'm this person, or you that person, I'm that person. It was all fun and games. It wasn't a monetary situation where I'm going to be this because I'm going to make this type of money.
Mhm.
And, my first opportunity was being on TV with Jerry Bledsoe. He had a show called Soul Alive. I was the first DJ on there rapping. And I had that strong feeling that I had arrived. Like you said, your mama's moment. I had arrived, mama. I'm here. I'm a big
Period.
star.
That was when I was born, mind you. But back then, my grandma had the jukebox where all these records would come out, and that was the double Dutch bus and all of
Yeah.
this. Now, you were a DJ turned road manager too. Which act kept you on your toes the most? Who challenged you to lead with authority and pursue more?
Man, there was all of them in a sense. I have to say, my first opportunities as a road manager kind of opened doors and led me into really, homing in on my craft. I had managed a group called the Boogie Boys. And, back then, what people don't understand was nobody got paid before the show. You got paid after the show.
That's
You
crazy work.
There was no cell phones, no beepers, no social media. And the only thing you had was a pay phone. You had to have a dime to make a phone call.
Mm.
Now, when we did shows, the only people who actually got um, paid was the people who opened and the people who closed. 9 out of 10, that promoter was gone before the show got started. And a lot of people got caught holding the bag, an empty bag at that. So
Crazy.
I actually got my name, Mark Money Green, from Joe Malloy, Romeo JD of the Boogie Boys, because one day when we were about to go on, I always told them, do not step on that stage till I get the money. And one day I was waiting to get the money, and next thing I knew, they were on their performance. So when they got off stage, I ripped a hole in them. I said and called them every name I could think of. And finally, Romeo said, okay, Mark Money Green, we won't do it again. From that point on.
Listen, you were, and that's one of the things that when you read your forward in your book, and we're going to get to that, everybody talked about how much of an upstanding and fair guy you were. Like you had integrity and credibility back then. Now, why was being a man of that type of honors important to you even then? You didn't have to be because who knew?
Yeah, I could have been the street cred, F you, I mean, get me. I didn't live by that. I believe in karma, what goes around comes around. I try to do my best and leave everything up to God. The thing is,
Mm,
people that grew up with me or people who don't really know me because I'm laid back. Yeah, how the hell are you in that industry for so long? You don't seem like that cutthroat person. And you don't have to be that cutthroat person. You have to have, a sign of integrity, a man of, a desire to make things happen. And I'll tell you a quick story. A girl who used to work for me, she did a contract for me one day and she booked the group. She put the contract on the wrong day. So the group arrived the wrong day of the show.
oh
They
wow.
performing on Saturday. They got there Friday.
Oh
The
Lord.
promoter was like, Mark, what is going on? Why is the group here? And I had to look at the contract. I said, this girl, at the end, the group was like so angry with me, they made me pay them $10,000. I had an opportunity to say, I'm not paying you guys and F the promoter, I'm not doing it. But I went on in my bank account. I paid that promoter. I paid the group the 10,000 because I didn't want to mess up my reputation. I want to keep it straight. And because of that, this guy's been my client for more than 15 years. He said, Mark, you're a stand-up guy. I'm gonna make sure that you get that money back. We're gonna work, and I don't care who comes for me, what agency, I'm gonna always come to you. So it pays off.
Yeah, it pays out. I mean, you've led again a very healthy successful life in this industry. This industry is cutthroat.
Very.
You're welcome. So you work with some of the most controversial acts to date. Working up the ranks at EMI Records, what did you learn as a businessman that's a missing ingredient to business deals today in the music industry when we talk about signing talents?
Well, I go directly to the back of my book, and it's called The Street Rules of the Game. Rule number one, trust no one. Everybody
Okay.
has a motive. Everybody has something they want from you. You just got to realize what it is and just keep your eyes open. Don't believe the hype. Rule number two, everybody got good game. I got the best show, the best artist. Rule number three, keep your mouth shut. Those who know don't tell, and those who tell don't know.
Okay.
And rule number four, paper gangsters succeed. You have to read everything. You cannot let anything go by the fine print because you don't know what you're signing. And I won't go through all of them, but the last one I want to say is it ain't where you from, it's where you at. Everybody wants to claim I'm from Brooklyn, Bronx, Harlem, but when you're in another city, state, or country, they don't care. And in my book, I tell the story when I was in Ohio and I went to get my money. And I told the guy wasn't my group wasn't going on before I get the money. He looked at me, he said, okay, I'm gonna pay you. He pulled out a gun, put it to my head. He said, I
Oh
don't give a F
Lord.
that you're from Harlem or from New York. You in Ohio now, and sir, I put it that way. And it made me think. I said, you know what? He's right. It ain't where I'm from. It's where I'm at right now.
Okay. Dang, he had to doggone Nino Brown you up there?
You're going to see a lot of Nino Browns in this book, because hip hop brings the drama too, and
Right.
you got to realize that the early '80s was drugs, um, con artists, pimps, pushers, and everything. People don't
Right.
realize that we came up in the era of Scarface, and every promoter was either a gangster or a drug dealer. And you dealt with when you read the book and you read some of the crazy things that happened during my time on the tour, you're just like, it's amazing that you're still here.
Well, it's a dog eat dog kind of world. So, like you said, you pin these things and more in your newest memoir, The Show Must Go On. So, what inspired you to write the book?
you know, for a long time, and even my parents, nobody knew what I did. They always say, "Oh yeah, he works in the music business. He's a promoter. He's in this." Nobody really understood what I did. I started thinking about, when I was writing this book, and not only to tell my story, but I want to kind of influence those that are coming up, those who are really have the passion. Because in my book, I tell all the stories, but there are lessons to be learned.
Facts.
And the thing is, I want to leave in my legacy, like this is what happened. How do you resolve it? If you was in this position, what would you do? And these are things that you have to think about, especially if you're in this industry.
Right, right. Agreed. Now, what makes this book so different than all the others that were written before now? Because there's millions of books out there, but what makes this so intriguing? Why should readers engage?
Because it's real stories with real artists that you know.
Right, okay. Period.
Aaliyah, Usher, Drew Hill, Timberland, Missy Elliott, Guru, Grandmaster Flash, Sugar Hill Gang, Freddie Jackson, Melvin Moore, Lisa Morgan, DMX. I can go on and on. And all of these stories are the stories of what happened when I was working with these artists.
Mm, that's going to be a lot of tea being spilled. So I don't know. Look to
Well,
see you in
the
the
thing
news.
is, I didn't make this a tell-all, but I told my story, and most of it in situations that I was presented, you know. And there was a story there with DMX when I first went on a road with him, what happened. I won't go into it, or, you know, Timberland and some of these other artists that I work with. So it's not actually like, oh, he said that. No, when you read it, it's like, wow, that happened. How did he handle it? Oh,
Right,
wow, what would I have done, you know? Because you got to realize I was like 20, 25 years old when I started. And some
right.
of these things, when I started reading the book, I said to myself, man, I did all right back then. Because thinking back now, being 25 and handling over 50 people on tour and dealing with personalities and drug addicts and everything else, you had to be a strong leader.
Facts.
Yeah.
Right. I say that too, just looking at you now, and then the fact that you've been here since the 70s, that the way that you carry yourself and you don't look like you life has beat you up. Like, you have a lot of artists that's like, what the world? No, that can't be. And you have surpassed that. So kudos to you, now, number one, for being an upstanding businessman, but not getting caught up in what a lot of managers probably did get caught up with back then.
Well, I give it all to my faith in God because, you know, listen, all the things and drama that I've been through, you know, as God has brought me through this, when you start reading the stories, you be like, damn, you still living?
Okay.
But I grew up, you know, early on, you know, learning about God and my faith. And as you read in the beginning of my book, I was paralyzed from my waist down,
Wow.
couldn't walk, and I was in the hospital for like 6 months. And it was my belief and my prayers to Him to allow me to walk again and actually become a track star.
Wow. That's amazing. Well, you had heartbreak too, but that's in the book as well, or loss.
Yeah. I lost my daughter, lost my mother like within a year. And I mean, I won't say that I've been through as much as anybody else, but you know, the times that things happen, you had to lean on your faith. You had to lean on somebody because I wouldn't have got through any of this without, you know, my strong belief in God.
Right. Do you think that with all that you lost and getting you to this point now, it's because you just like you said, relied heavily on it. But how did you not lose the faith? Because that's a lot.
Well, it wasn't about so much losing the faith, it's just dealing with the situations that were presented in front of you. You know, I talk about, you know, the guns that pointed at me, the guns that were, you know, dealt with. Some of the people I worked with that were hooked on drugs and having to deal with them. I talk about, you know, going to all these different states, and we talking about the Ku Klux Klan in one situation, and another situation. I walk in Dallas and I sit down to eat, and the lady tells me we don't serve your kind here. And you know, you have to really, you know, I at that moment, you know, the old Mark probably, well, the new, well, I would say the old Mark would have took it a different route, but in my mind, I was thinking about how am I going to get out of here safely?
Right,
If
right, right,
wrong thing, I may not make it out of here, you know?
right.
So even with the Ku Klux Klan situation, I was like, I had never seen that in person. I always saw it on TV, but for them to be in my presence, you know, all I thought about was, where's the strap?
That period. What year was that?
That was 1985. And guess what? In Charlotte, North Carolina.
I know you lying.
Oh, you Google it, you'll see it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you know, we were coming through Charlotte, and I was on tour with Freddie Jackson at that time. and we would stop because of the Klan march was, coming down the street.
Mm. I could say something. I'm just leave it where it's at.
Okay.
The audacity is at an all-time high. Now, would you consider this more than a memoir, a manifesto? And it's a good thing that you just touched on that about Black history.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you're going to read stories in here, not only about your artist, your favorite artist or whoever, but they're real stories, walking into Nashville, Tennessee in the bar. And it was like the scene in the Eddie Murphy movie when we walked in there, everybody turned around like, it's like, uh-oh, we're in the wrong place.
Right, 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 right.
Or going, I talk about a scene in my book where we're on tour and the bus is swerving, and the next thing I knew, I pulled back the curtain and the bus driver's got a crack pipe in his mouth.
Oh God. Oh Lord.
There are some amazing stories in this book, and you'll say to yourself, wow, you're still here.
Right, right. Okay. Now, would you no, no, no. With such an explosive life, how did you decide on the information shared? Because this is 40 years in the making. What were the things that you took into consideration when writing about the particulars of your life? Because you couldn't write about every single thing.
Well, not only I'm a planner, but I also have I saved a lot of artifacts. So a lot of these things I was able to go back and look, I saved everybody's contract, all kind of documents. So in my mind, if there was a question, I would just go back in my file cabinets and find some of these things. And again, this isn't a tell-all book because I do know some stories that I wouldn't tell, but
Right,
I'm not here to make this a tell-all book. I'm just telling my story.
right, right, right. Now, hip hop artists, like I said, Chubb Rock was one of the ones that wrote your foreword. Which artists, how did you decide who was going to be part of this project?
Well, I thought about people that I was constantly doing work for. There's so many people I could have asked to kind of give me a quote for the book. But some of the people here were some of the main ones that I work with all the time. And I'm just happy that, I told them say whatever you want to say. And as you read some of the I guess the quotes they said, I was very not totally surprised, but happy for what they had to say about me.
Hmm. Now, clearly, you're not getting closure from this release because you have a great life right now, and you were such a gem. But do you feel like this life you led until now isn't complete until you shared that story?
Absolutely. I think again, because a lot of people know me, but they never knew what I did. They didn't know when people read these books, especially some of my friends, and I have probably like about at least 25 quotes from friends who bought the book and read it. And some of them said, man, I never knew that about you. I never knew because I'm not that type of boastful person. I'm pretty
Mm,
humble and laid back. So I'm not going to be there talking about, yeah, I was the first rapper, or I did, that's not my style. And
right.
so for them to read about me, uh, I feel good because I'm telling my story, good, bad, or whether you like me or not, it's there for you to read. And I have, there's no question about what I'm telling because if anybody says, well, you didn't work with that person, I got, okay, here's the contract. Here's me laminate. Here's some pictures. So again, it's just my story.
Can you show us that book again? It's pretty, it's filled.
Yes, the show must go on. Can you see it? There you go.
Yes.
Yeah. So and it's the show must go on. Backstage stories of a hip hop agent. And I say this because again, there's so many things that happen, and at the end of the day, the show must go on.
Right.
Uh, there's been some sad things that happen during these situations, and I've even witnessed a person, well, two people dying on stage while performing. But did they stop the show? No. I mean, people were concerned, but the show just went on.
Right. Now with what Ashanti's the one who brought out Ashanti. I can't think. I'm having a brain fog right now. I hate getting like it's a blessing to get old, but then here we are. Like what was his name? Who brought out Ja Rule?
Are you talking about Irv Gotti?
Irv Gotti. So how did that make you feel? Now you've written this book. You've had some impactful moments in hip hop and just in the business in general. So to see that happen to him at such a young age and to see where you are, how did that impact you as a businessman, an author, a father, and a black man still in the business industry or the music industry?
Well, anytime we lose a loved one, whether he's in the industry or not, it's just devastating. I didn't know Irv personally. Have worked around him, worked indirectly with him, but it's sad, and it's sad because he's such a young age. And it's sad because sometimes we get caught up so much in what we do and how we do it that we don't focus on our mental health, our health, and everything else. I can tell you when I was out with Drew Hill back in '95, I was out there smoking and drinking and partying and eating pizzas and bagels and everything else. And after a while, every time I ate, I would fall asleep. And I said, something's not right.
Right.
I went to the doctor and found out my cholesterol was over 500. I was about to have a stroke any minute. And they rushed
Wow.
me to the hospital. I was there for 3 days. And whatever they had to do. And from that point on, I started kind of focusing on my health because right now I'm a hypochondriac, go to the doctor all the time because, it's just a thing that we don't really take apart and don't really look at, because we're so caught up in what we do.
Right. Right. Do you talk about the mental health things in the book as well, Mr. Green?
Not really. I just talk about some of my failures or things that I went through, but, again, for me, I kind of focus on where I am and the things that I do. One of the things I try to teach people that in my book for the last 15 years is every year I try to learn something new, whether
Mhm.
it's a career, whether it's just getting a certificate in something. And I got certificates in bartending, CPR, event management, uh, management. I mean, I got my black belt at 59. So, I try to do anything I can to keep motivating myself and keeping myself just involved in what's going on.
Okay, I love that for you. And it just gives other artists and black men hope that okay, it's more out here to do to keep this longevity going or
Yeah.
to keep this life going. Now, you are the one who is credited for signing DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, Salt and Pepper, Roxanne Shante, the Fresh Prince of Bel Air. I can go on. Now, were your hands on the biopics for Salt and Pepper as well as Roxanne Shante? And this is kind of off the cuff question.
I work with a lot of artists, and sometimes I say, man, I should have been in that biopic. But no, I listen, they pick and choose who they want. What I've learned in this business is that you can't take things personal. Everybody's not going to give you credit for what you do. You just do the best of your ability and you keep it moving. One of the things I hadn't seen Will Smith in probably 30 years, and I went to a book signing he had, and I was trying to go back to see him, and Charlie Mack said, "Oh, you can't see him." And I said, "Well, I got this contract, and I got the letter from his first show, and I gave it to him." When he sent it to Will, Will said, "Find him," and he brought me backstage. He was so amazed that I still had his business card, his contract, and the first letter from his first show in 1986. And it was just exciting to see him and just thrilled to have him recognize me at that point. Like, wow, I remember, wow, this is because, when I first started working with him, and I don't know what it was about him that made me actually keep those artifacts because I didn't keep it with everybody. I think I
Right.
kept Roxanne Shante, I kept him and MC Shan and a couple other people, but there was something about him that drew, that I liked and loved about him. So, I tried to keep everything I had that he had given me.
Wow, that's crazy. So you do keep things. I bet you
Oh,
got an attic full of stuff, not from everybody because you got a lifeline of things, but
crazy things, yeah.
now from the book,
Hold on. Can you see this? This is Al B. Sure's tour book,
oh, it
19,
is.
1988.
That's crazy. Does he know you still have that?
Yeah, I told him, I said, I was Al B. Sure's first road manager. I talk about it in my book. I said, we were on the road doing these shows, and we had this comedian who was opening for us, and nobody really knew who he was then. Nobody really cared, but everybody know who he is now because his name is Chris Rock. So Chris
You,
Rock used to open for Al B. Sure.
you done had your hands on so many talented people. What was one of the inspiring moments that you talked about in the book that dealt with one of those people?
Oh my goodness. I guess, one of the inspiring moments was me working with Grandmaster Flash. We met when I was interning at Sugar Hill Records, but because of who he was, I've always had fond liking for him. And when I got the opportunity to manage him, it was something that I really, enjoyed and really took a heed to. Like, I mean, and my thing was like, how can I make him better? What can I do? So getting and putting my hand into his career was something I really always enjoyed and realized that that's one of the things I have to say that I
Hmm.
credit myself for.
Now that you've done this book, do you have more in you to write?
Oh my goodness, I really do. Because towards the towards the I guess the last 10 years, I started working with a lot of actors.
Mm.
I worked with Billy D. Williams, Pam Grier, Lynn Whitfield, Shamar Moore, Anthony Anderson, Lorenz Tate, Tate Diggs. I just finished working with what is her name? My goodness, just come back to me. Megan Good. I just finished working with Megan Good this past weekend. So I mean, that's a whole different story and a whole different ball game because that is just a different animal in itself.
Right, right. It's
But the thing
amazing.
is, the love that I have is like I grew up watching Billy D. Williams. I grew up watching Pam Grier, and for me to be, associated with them in any kind of way has been just it's just been a dream come true.
Oh, do you get fanned out?
I've learned to kind of, listen, there are some of those people who I was starstruck working with Prince, working with Eddie Murphy. I've learned to like just focus on what I'm doing and not get like caught up in the whole, you know, groupie type of feeling. I
Right.
keep everything business and this is what it is.
Well, that's what makes you who you are, a professional.
Yes, yes.
Now, the show must go on. Where can our viewers find the book and follow you?
They can find the book at Barnes and Nobles, Amazon, or you go to my website, markmoneygreen.com. You can purchase this there. I am on Instagram as Celebrity Talent Inc. and on Facebook as Celebrity Talent Agency.
Now, my next question, I mean, this is my last question, but I was just thinking with something of that magnitude, do you anticipate that it would be in colleges because you touch on so many elements of music throughout your career and so many artists?
Well, I would like it to be. I have did a few college engagements. I was a little, to be honest with you, I was a little disappointed because the kids, I'm talking, Sugar Hill Gang, I'm talking a lot of these groups that the kids don't even know who they are,
Mm,
you know. And I said, how can you be a lover of this art, this genre of music, and not know anything about, who these people were before you?
right.
So,
Well, I know who they are, and people in my age group and younger, some younger, who they know who they are, and we know who all the artists are that you kind of represented in your book through
yes.
your sometimes good and a lot of bad
Yes.
happenings.
Yeah.
So I thank you so much for your time. I'm going to let you go, and we got action.
Thank you, Twanda. I appreciate you, and I hope to see you again.
You will. Just look
Okay.
me up when you get to Charlotte.
All
Thank you.
right, I definitely will. All
Thank
right, take
you.
care. Okay, bye-bye.